Welcome to the Milpark Education 2021 graduation ceremony. Graduation is one of the greatest and most significant milestones in an individual's life. It is a joyous acknowledgement and celebration of the achievement of those students who have successfully met the requirements for the completion of their qualifications. The graduation ceremony is the culmination of the concerted and consistent efforts of two parties, the student, who endeavored and sacrificed in order to achieve their qualification, and our teaching and support staff, who guided Rudeon to this proud and significant moment in his life. This year, Milpark Business School will be graduating our very first Doctor in Business Administration student. So, from all of us at Milpark Education, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome Rudeon Snell and his family members to Milpark's very first DBA graduation ceremony. We are also honored to welcome Dr. Kobus Oosthuizen, the Dean of the Business School, who is also today's keynote speaker, as well as all our other business school academics in attendance. On that note, please welcome our very first Doctor of Business Administration, Rudeon Snell, who will read the abstract from his thesis, The Influence of Artificial Intelligence on Jobs in the Manufacturing Industry of South Africa.
Thank you, Marlies. The primary purpose of conducting this research was to explore the influence of artificial intelligence on jobs in the manufacturing industry of a developing country such as South Africa. With the increase of AI adoption experienced by society, as well as the accelerating capability of AI-imbued automation in various global industries, especially the manufacturing industry, the question of how AI will influence jobs is one that must be addressed. It could have a profound implication for global society across a spectrum of ethics, morality, politics, economics, social capital, and religion. This study commences with a review of AI, broadly discussing the various types of AI and how they differ from each other in relation to factors such as functional capability, application in real-world scenarios, as well as adoption. The study continues by highlighting the positive and negative influence of AI on jobs, in addition to broadly discussing AI and jobs in the context of South Africa. AI's influence on leadership practices is also discussed, in addition to Industry 4.0 and its influence on manufacturing, especially in the construct of smart factories. Following on from this, the theoretical framework that underpins the study is unpacked. It focuses on theories such as innovation diffusion theory, the technology acceptance model, and dynamic capabilities theory, in addition to highlighting how the researcher used these models to develop an integrated theoretical model that provides the overall theoretical foundation of the study. From an overall research approach perspective, an interpretivist research philosophy, specifically a phenomenological research philosophy, was adopted for the study. This philosophical choice was supported by employing a deductive research approach combined with a non-probability sampling methodology, more specifically convenience sampling in combination with judgmental sampling. A custom-designed questionnaire acted as the research instrument and was administered to a selected sample. The results were collected, analyzed, and the findings were then presented in line with the guidance from the literature reviewed for qualitative studies. Based on the data gathered as well as the findings that surfaced, views are provided on the influence of AI specifically on jobs in the manufacturing sector of South Africa, and whether that influence could be categorized as positive or negative based on the lived experience of the sample. A customized framework that manufacturing employees and employers could use to help mitigate the negative influence of AI on jobs was also developed and presented as a contribution. This framework was developed as a unique contribution to the body of knowledge and was in part based on the findings and supported by the literature reviewed. Finally, possible directions for future studies and suggested future research questions were then proposed. During the course of the study, it was found that the majority of respondents believed that the influence of artificial intelligence on jobs in the manufacturing industry of South Africa is a double-edged sword, potentially able to create some new job types, but at the same time decimating jobs of especially blue-collar workers in the manufacturing industry of South Africa. In addition, the findings suggest that technology-related jobs and occupations where uniquely human skills are amplified, such as empathy, communication, and creativity, could well be the type of jobs that AI might create either directly or indirectly. Respondents believe that jobs with high levels of repetition were more susceptible to automation and as such likely to be most easily displaced by AI. The majority of respondents also believe that individuals were responsible for reskilling and upskilling themselves to ensure they have the relevant skills to add to the changing economy. The findings highlighted that skills focusing on technology and human centricity could encourage longer-term employment viability for threatened workers. It was also found that the majority of respondents did not wish to be managed by AI, but were open to managing AI with the right levels of training and support. The evidence indicates that new models and frameworks need to be developed to prepare enterprise leaders for the changes that AI will necessitate in order for them to remain competitive. By gaining a clearer understanding of the influence of AI on jobs, especially in developing countries, business leaders and government policymakers will be able to draw up and implement more effective strategies, which will then enable them to maximize the benefits of this technology while minimizing the risks posed. In addition, the results of the study could be used to inform businesses on how they may better provide assurances to their workforce about the scale and magnitude of AI-imbued automation and its impact on them, as the capability and adoption level of this technology increases. The results of the study may also help inform policymakers in developing countries of the views of various industries concerned with the government's responsibility in mitigating the risks posed by AI and how to manage those affected by job displacement as a result of this technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudeon, for the abstract. Our next speaker today is the Dean of the Milpark Business School, Dr. Kobus Oosthuizen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Kobus Oosthuizen.
Program Director, esteemed guests, members of faculty, and of course, most important, our esteemed DBA graduate, Rudeon Snell, who made history, as Marlies has indicated, in being the first DBA graduate of Milpark Business School. Rudy, you make us, and of course your family, very proud, and our sincerest congratulations in your achievement of attaining the highest academic accolade, a doctoral degree. Colleagues and friends, thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts at this momentous occasion in celebration of Rudy's achievements. And I'd like to open my address with a question to each one of you. What future do you want? Let me ask it again. What future do you want? And it's probably the most important question we need to answer individually and collectively, considering where we find ourselves as humankind at this point in our existence. Because, dear friends, it will to a large extent determine how our future unfolds. Think for a moment. Alongside the much emphasized technology uprising, such as artificial intelligence, that was the focus of Rudy's research, Internet of Things, robotics, biotech, blockchain, etc., etc., and the climate crisis, a set of broader socioeconomic, geopolitical, and demographic developments, each interacting in multiple directions and intensifying each other, is also unfolding. So essentially, human societies are very complex with many different stakeholders and environmental conditions. Life does not break down into neat categories. So as you ponder on the question, what future do you want? Let me follow up by stating my earnest desire for each one of us to leave with here today, and that is the belief that tomorrow is beautiful. And why will tomorrow be beautiful? Because, colleagues and friends, you and I will make it beautiful. In the New York Times bestseller, Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, the author Max Tegmark from MIT takes the reader through a very thought-provoking journey of, among others, 12 possible scenarios for humanity's future, depending, of course, on how artificial intelligence, or AI, evolves. And the book covers insights into AI and its effect on jobs, again, aligning with what Rudy has immersed himself in, but society, crime, war, justice, and our very sense of being human. Of significance for me, however, is the author's claim that we shouldn't passively ask what will happen, as if the future is predetermined, but instead ask what we want to happen, and then attempt to create that future. Max believes, and I concur, that if we're going to create a future that benefits as many people as possible, we need to include as many voices as possible. Social systems tend to evolve in a direction people collectively, passionately, and persistently ask questions about. And as such, I believe we need to advocate collective inquiry into the best of what is, so as to imagine what could be, followed by collective design, rather, of a desired future state that is compelling, not biased on incentives, politics, coercion, or persuasion to drive the change. So, generating a positive image of the future influences our behavior in the present, and that acts to bring about the anticipated positive result. Instead of approaching the future as a problem to be solved, which is of course the traditional deficit-based approach, I believe our approach should be about compelling possibilities awaiting to happen. So again, I pose the question, what future do you want? And as we often also say to one another, talk about the old truths that suggest to lead, leaders must have foresight, and they must lead by example. They must motivate and inspire on a moral basis through aspirations, as well as recognition and reward. And my sense is that it's precisely this calm, considered, and ethical leadership required to lead and inspire large numbers of people that seem to be in short supply today. It's one thing to nod in agreement to the calls of thought leaders propagating the need for an integrated and comprehensive response to the challenges and the opportunities facing us, involving all stakeholders and including as many voices as possible in the dialogue. Yet it's another thing altogether in how to go about doing this. So, colleagues and friends, creating forums, events, working groups, workshops, research projects, and the like are great, and many commendable initiatives already exist, although I would suggest in pockets, and primarily at high levels, namely globally or nationally. I however think, though, that more attention should be given to include all levels of society that contribute to seeking ways that rationalizes and reinforces the habit of mind that journeys through the world in a generative frame, seeking and finding images of the possible rather than senses of despair and disaster. You might argue and say, but what can I do? I don't have any influence. Well, I suggest not to wait to be invited, but to invite. In other words, start an initiative in the circle of influence you already have. initiate a think tank or discussion forum at your company or in your community. If you don't have the opportunity to do anything at the global, the continental or country level, most definitely you can influence at the organizational and communal level. And may I suggest you use the Sustainable Development Goals as foundation. Because think for a moment, there's less than a decade left to achieve these goals. The question then beckons, what are you and I going to do about it? If we want to have a future of compelling possibilities, then we must take up our individual and collective responsibility and do our part. So in summary, we shouldn't ask passively what will happen, as if the future is predetermined. We should instead ask what we want to happen and then attempt to create that future. If we're going to create a future that benefits as many people as possible, we need to include as many voices as possible. And you and I have the responsibility to add our voices. And against that backdrop, Rudy, again, congratulations on your achievement. It was really, for me and for Jane, an immense honor to have journeyed with you through that sacrifice that you've made. So, but maybe just in addition is to remember, and I know you do, that along with it comes great responsibility. Responsibility to determine what future you want, and then to play your part in creating that future. And we want to wish you all the best on your individual and collective efforts in shaping a future in which all stakeholders will benefit. And of course, our journey together is not ending here today with a graduation. Besides the fact that you are a valued alum of our institution, you are also a colleague. You have now crafted your research identity, and you bet your bottom dollar that we are going to draw on your insights and your knowledge in further building on our future students that come into our institution. And with that, colleagues, I thank you for the opportunity. Madam Program Director, I pass the microphone back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kobus, for those inspiring words this morning. I will now confirm the name of the graduate who has met the requirements for the Doctor of Business Administration. The following candidates, having satisfied the requirements for the completion of the qualification, are hereby awarded the qualification Doctor of Business Administration. Rudeon Snell. Congratulations, Dr. Rudeon Snell, on this wonderful achievement today. And I can just echo what Dr. Kobus has said, also in terms of congratulations to your family and for the sacrifices that you have made on this journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This brings us to the end of the formal proceedings and the closing of the ceremony. It has been our great pleasure to welcome Rudeon, you and your family. And I also want to say a special word of thanks to Dr. Kobus Oosthuizen and also to our business school academics, the team who also joined us today.